Hey there, this is the One Boom, and today we're going to be looking at the Ravager in Halo Infinite. This is my first Halo Infinite weapon review. These videos are going to be very casual. We're going to go over my tips and tricks, my experience, what I would change about the weapon, and the best tactics for success with the weapons. So, why start with the Ravager? Well, the Ravager is probably one of the most overhated, underrated weapons in the game. I think a lot of people have been trying to use this thing like a brute shot or fuel rod cannon or a plasma launcher or something of the sort, but it's not like that at all. What you get with the Ravager is a giant AoE plasma pistol. So let's start off with that comparison. When you pick up a plasma pistol, you're not picking it up to use the primary fire. You're not picking it up to tap people to death. You're picking it up to charge it up, hit an enemy with it, and then finish them off with a different weapon. Much like the pulse carbine, the plasma rifle, and the disruptor, this is a combo weapon. This is something you should be pairing with something else, and in my opinion, preferably another teammate, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Starting with the primary fire, don't use this unless you absolutely have to. You just don't do enough damage with it. It's gonna take 3 or 4 of these long, clunky bursts that have dropped to kill somebody, so just don't try that. Instead, what you wanna do is deal some damage with it in close quarters and then go for a melee strike. Even that can be pretty inconsistent, so don't rely on it, but that's sort of the main goal here is primary fire, melee. Don't try to kill somebody with just the primary fire, especially if they're jumping and sliding and running towards you. It's just not gonna be a good time. Move in close, burst them if you can, and then go for the melee. But again, like a plasma pistol, you don't pick it up to tap fire people to death, you pick it up to drop shields. And in my opinion, the Ravager is amazing at this. Imagine a plasma pistol that once it's fully charged up, you lob it at your enemy's feet to do the same effect. You're not going for headshots or direct hits. You are going for their feet. You're gonna lob this fireball at their feet, swap to a BR or a sidekick, and finish them off. An AR will also work in this case. This is an AoE plasma pistol. When you look at it that way, a lot of avenues open up. Because if multiple enemies are charging you in tight quarters and you have a fully charged up Ravager, you could potentially strip 3 people's shields at once and clean them up with 3 good headshots. So as soon as you see an enemy enter your radar and you have a Ravager, start fully charging, face their direction, and jump up while firing. You want a little bit of high ground here so you can directly plop it right at their feet. On their screen, it's gonna be you jumping, them losing their shields, standing in AoE fire damage, and then getting killed. And that AoE fire damage is really effective in tight quarters, on flags, on oddballs, on strongholds. This AoE damage is cherry on top of a sundae in my opinion, because it changes the way your enemies have to play. It might not completely strip their shields and destroy them, but it'll change the way people have to play. Forcing people to jump, move around cover, wait, all of these things can help you win an intense match of oddball or strongholds. But CTF is a really good game mode for the Ravager as well because a lot of times enemy teams will move in pairs to escort the flag back to their base. And again, if we're looking at this like a giant plasma pistol, seeing 3 people moving through tight quarters trying to get their flag back to their base, you have a fully charged Ravager, you just dropped all of their shields or heavily weakened all of their shields. And then if they drop the flag, there's fire surrounding the flag, so when they go to grab it, it will injure them for the next couple of seconds. This thing is a Swiss Army knife for objective game modes and just area denial. And on top of that, my friends and I tested it and it has unlimited range, at least as far as we can tell. You can fire from one base on a BTB map to another. So when BTB eventually works, that'll be useful. But what's great about that unlimited range is that if you see a rooftop or a cliffside or a room or something in the distance that an enemy's using as a power position, you could drop one of those fireballs there, and even if the ball itself doesn't hit them or the blast radius doesn't hit them, the fire is going to fill that little position, that little, again, nook, cranny, room, window, whatever it might be. It's going to fill that area and deal damage to anybody stupid enough to keep camping there. Halo is all about power positions and initial positioning, so a weapon that can cause area denial and shield stripping with one charged shot is pretty effective. Now, of course, the weapon is a little bit of a stinker. The primary fire does kind of suck, and I think the best thing they could do to that primary fire is just remove the drop on it. Get rid of the drop, keep the crappy damage and the crappy fire rate, get rid of the drop, and then allow players to fire it 2 more times without overheating. So if a player really wants to spam the primary fire, they can. I don't think the primary fire needs any buffs to shield or health damage or anything like that, because this charge shot is more than effective at what it's supposed to do. So if you spawn in and you see a Ravager and you're playing oddball, use it effectively to lock down choke points, and maybe even just a last-ditch effort to delay the enemies. You know, they come in, you know you're gonna die, set the ball on fire, so essentially they can't touch the ball or grab it without losing their shields. The number one mentality you should have with the Ravager is that with its area of effect damage working like a giant plasma pistol, you have to understand, it's better for your team to fight 4 people missing 25% of their shields than 4 people with 100% shields. Your team is going to love you if you stick near them with a Ravager, and as soon as you see an enemy on the radar, start charging, look that direction, fire, strip the shields. You and your teammate are gonna have a field day cleaning up enemies. I give the Ravager a solid 6 out of 10, 5 being average, 1 being unusable, and 10 being damn near perfect. This weapon is slightly above average just due to the uniqueness of it and how it can really change the tide of objective game modes. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.